I'll let you introduce yourself, but I'll introduce the show, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the RD to RD live show. We, every week, have a special guest, most often a registered dietitian who is an expert in some area of success in the online world. And Jennifer is coming on, McGurk, to talk to us, about creating a successful online course. So I have a lot of admiration for Jennifer for creating Pursuing Private Practice, which is an online, really a masterclass in getting started and building a successful private practice. So not only did she take all of her wisdom about success in private practice, she had to learn the ropes when it comes to how do I get all of this into an online digital product, which for those of you who are in that process or have started to do the research, you know that it's no easy feat. So we're going to kind of be bouncing between two worlds here. We're going to be talking about what goes into planning and executing a course, but we're also going to take your questions about just private practice in general, talk about that as well. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming on today. And for those of you listening in, go ahead and give us a shout. Tell us where you're listening in from, and if you have some burning questions, we want to get to those. So make sure to drop those into the comments. So tell us a little bit about your pathway to private practice. I always figure people's pathways are not always linear. Usually it wound around a bit, but maybe yours was different. So how did you end up in private practice and your course? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think my pathway was a complete circle line like this, like full of ups and downs and one step forward, two steps back, but then like 10 steps forward, 5 steps back type of process. So I started out my career actually in diabetes education in New York City. I absolutely loved that job, but I did get stuck after even only maybe a year or two, and I knew that I wanted to do something a little bit different. I knew that I had the entrepreneurial spirit in me, which I think a lot of us have. Like we just have that burning fuel and that desire to actually work for ourselves and all the benefits that come with it, like planning your own schedule, practicing how you want to practice, being your own boss. I just think there's so many benefits to being an entrepreneur. So I knew I wanted to do it, but I also knew that I wasn't going to live in New York City. My then boyfriend, now husband, and I were going to move out to the suburbs. So I waited a little bit to start my practice, even though I knew I should have done it much, much sooner. But when we moved to Rockland County, which is right above New Jersey, outside of New York City, I decided to go for it. And I started off so small. I cannot tell you that I had maybe with my first client, I remember jumping up and down. Like I had one or two clients at the very beginning. And just naturally it grew from there as I had 2 part-time jobs and a private practice on the side, very much on the side, down to 1 part-time job with my private practice on the side, down to switching jobs. So I went from 20 hours to 10 hours. So I got a very small consultant position on the side while I had my private practice still. Finally to full-time in probably took me about 2 or 3 years. So it was a process. It was not overnight. And I think that that's the biggest lesson in my journey to private practice is that there's no one direct way. It really depends on you, your situation, how much time you have, how much resources, meaning like money that you have that you can put into your business. And everyone's different, just like counseling in the sense that a client goes through the process full of ups and downs. Right. I feel like being an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. We go through the process of ups and downs in our own journey to have our own business.
I like that you really, told the story about that it took a while to go from having a few clients to holding a couple of other jobs, that balancing trying to grow your business with, I still need a steady income, paycheck. This is something that comes up often, that people are like, how do you do it? Right. How do you find that balance when you do want to grow your business, but you still have to, work another job?
Yeah. And I know. And someone said the other day on, I think it was a listserv, they said, oh, well, to be an entrepreneur, you just have all this money saved up really works for you in terms of figuring out a budget. Millionaires have a budget, but figuring out a budget in terms of what you're bringing in consistently, and then the variable income that you're bringing in as an entrepreneur, you just have to make work for you and know that sometimes it's going to be a lot of money coming in and sometimes it's not going to be so much, and to be okay with that risk is something that a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make sure we're had a couple of little catches in our audio in our video, so I'll keep an eye on it. But I think we're good for now. Maybe one of our connections is struggling a little bit, but we'll proceed on. It looks good for now. Yeah. So creating, you went from saying, okay, so I built this practice. I went from, seeing a few clients, and you've learned a lot over the course of this. How did you know that you wanted to create an online course? How did this idea come to you? Because I think all of us are saying, well, I kind of like to create some kind of a digital product, but I'm really not sure what, or how did you know, and why?
It's such a great story. First child. So my son was born back in 2014, and I think when he was born, I came back to a practice that didn't have many clients as I left than what I was really used to. And I said that I could do, well, I had some extra time and had things going on. So I decided to write the books, Pursuing Private Practice, the book series, 10 Steps to Start Your Own Business and 10 Steps to Grow Your Own Business. I wrote them within the year after having my son. I wanted to actually get more into working once I had him. I thought I would cut back a lot, but I just was the opposite, which is so funny. Everyone's a little different with that. So I wanted to work more. So I wrote the books, and from the success of the books, people wanted more of a program, and everyone really liked the books, but I decided to create the Pursuing Private Practice Masterclass course. So the online course came from those two books that I wrote.
Okay. So now I'm putting those pieces together. So I think a lot of times people start with, perhaps an ebook of some kind and then work their way into perhaps a course. Did you find it easier because you went from, you were kind of taking some of the content in your book and creating it into a course format? Or how do you think it would have been different if you started with a course versus the books?
Looking back, I mean, it's kind of funny. Looking back, I probably would just go right into the course because the book was a lot more work actually than the online course, which is kind of funny when you think about it. It's, online courses to me seem like they're a lot of work, but actually writing a book and going through the whole book process was a lot more work than the online course. But I think that the book, I mean, I wouldn't change it looking back, but I think the book really helped me solidify all the nitty-gritty details that I needed to create the course. Helped me do a ton of research to be the expert. So you have to know your stuff. And, at that point I knew my stuff, but I wanted to make sure that I knew, I covered everything.
Right.
So but I think both. I mean, we learn different ways. Some people love books. Some people love courses. Some people need an accountability program. So there's lots of different things that we could do as entrepreneurs that could help reach people in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that you started with the books and that you felt like the books were a lot more work than putting together perhaps an online course. Not to say that an online course isn't an incredible amount of work, but writing a book is no joke. When it is an incredible amount of work. Did you? I'm assuming you self-published them and.
Yeah. So I decided to go the self-publishing route, really because I knew I wasn't going to get a book deal, and I also knew in my head that I wanted to do more than just the book, so it was probably best for me to self-publish so someone didn't buy the rights of things that I wanted to kind of have the rights to. So yeah, so I was the one that wrote the book. I used affordable editing services, which I would highly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Roberta Weddick is actually a dietitian herself, which is
Yes.
so great. And her husband Larry and her run affordable editing services. So I did have that resource in my back pocket. They were helping me with writing coaching as well as editing. So they really helped me from start to finish with the whole entire book.
Yeah, I actually met Roberta through the Nutrition Entrepreneur Practice Group listserv, and we spoke on the phone, and it was very early on as I was getting ready to launch RD to RD, but just talking to her, she really knows her stuff. She
Yes.
really, really knows her stuff about book publishing, and she had some questions that I didn't have any answers for, so I definitely agree that she's a definite asset for those people who are looking, her and Larry, into book publishing. So let's turn, we talked a little bit about getting, creating the course. Now, dietitians who decide, they say, okay, I want to enroll in the Pursuing Private Practice Masterclass. And as we always are creating our digital products, we're like the pain points, like what are we trying to solve, right? Because that's why people decide to purchase our product, right? Because they want the solution that your product offers. When dietitians, why do you think they choose the Pursuing Private Practice course? What are they struggling with?
I think a lot of dietitians feel the exact same way when they're starting a business. So first of all, they might feel like they have no idea what they're doing and that they're so overwhelmed with how to go about starting a business. I know that for me, we had one business course. I went to Penn State. So one business course at Penn State that was really more so around food service business and management than actual entrepreneurship. So I understand where people are coming from. They really want to do private practice, but they have no idea how to form a business, whether or not they should be a sole proprietor, LLC, whether or not they should take insurance, how to find office space, how to get all of the registrations and all the liability insurance and all those things that you need in order to practice. For people that are practicing virtually, they're not sure like what are the laws, what are the regulations around state to state medical nutrition therapy. People don't know this about business, and my course does offer those solutions for someone that is looking for the whole entire journey on how to start and grow a business. But I understand that is coming from a different place. So it's not like my course has the answer for you, period. It really gives you to think about on that my course could help you start and grow your business.
Got it. Yeah, I think it's that, I listen to a lot of course, podcasts, whether it's Pat Flynn or Amy Porterfield, and Pat Flynn always talks about it. He struggled with how much free content he gave away and like why would, people, there's all of this information out there, but some people want to go from point A to point B faster, right? You can go out and get this information, but the convenience of having it delivered by an expert in a convenient way, that's, people could make, you could make a latte at home too, but the convenience of having somebody else make it for you, that people are willing to pay, that's value. And I think sometimes we struggle with, well, will anybody really buy this? Because it's, people can find this information online. And so I'm sure you might have had those similar, hesitations as you created the content, because there's a lot of, I don't want to say there's a lot of competition, but there is competition in your space, right? How do you handle that?
Yeah, first of all, I think there's so much good competition. I don't even know if I would call it competition.
Yes, I shouldn't even say competition. I should say other options.
I know what you mean. There's people that have some courses on private practice. There's some people that have books. There's people that have resources. There's some people that have free things all the way to almost like I'll set up your private practice for you for a couple $1,000. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's so beautiful in the sense that if my course isn't right for you, I might have a resource for you depending on your time, your budget, your energy, whatever you need. I might know of these things now that I'm in this space. So I would gladly refer that person to someone else's product or service if my course wasn't right for them. I have a lot of people in my course that are they actually have started. They've started their private practice, but they don't have as many clients as they want. They don't have an office space that really speaks to them. They have no idea how to get more clients and get more referrals and keep the referrals coming in, and also too keeping clients like in their practice for a long period of time. So that's the person that I'm really marketing to for my course. So if you are either not right for me in the sense that you're thinking about a private practice like 4 years from now, or if you're in a private practice and you need to hire 10 other dietitians, that's also not my target for
Got it.
pursuing private practice. But I'll send you to someone that can help you.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yeah. And given the experience that you had of kind of growing your business more slowly over time, would you say that your course is suited for people who maybe are both, want to go out and make it, they're willing to, ready, they can quit their regular job and put all their effort in, or they have to kind of do both to grow their business?
I think it depends on you. I think my course is one person in there that still has 3 jobs. It kind of is what it is. Like there's people from all different situations in the course, but we all help each other out, which is really awesome. So my course just added group coaching calls. So we're going to start next week. I'm so excited about it because I really like connecting with people face to face, and we have a private Facebook group, but people have tons of questions, and I'm really excited to see people.
I actually think that's really interesting. As I did the Teachable Summit, I think last year or earlier this year, and that, as e-courses and online learning evolves, that what people are really seeking and how you can kind of stand out when creating a course is more access to you as the instructor, that we really seek connection, that access to information. They really want that access to your expertise and you as the instructor. So I think it's wonderful that you've added in those coaching calls, because that's what's being, that's what's recommended by the experts, certainly.
Yeah. And it's just felt very, very natural too. It was just awesome. So I'm so excited about it.
That's awesome. So how did you approach creating the course? So there's a ton of different tools out there to go from idea to a completed product. So how did you tackle just saying, okay, I'm going to make this course? Did you give yourself deadlines? Tell me how this went down for you.
So it's so funny. First, I wrote the books. I have to tell you this story because it's so great. I wrote the books in a little cafe. It's called Jane on Main in Pearl River, because I live in Pearl River, for anyone that's in the greater New York City area. I wrote the books every Thursday from 9 to 5 cafe. Like I could not really have my cell phone with me because I would get so distracted, and that's when I would do all of my writing when it comes to writing books. With the course, I did it a little bit differently just because I didn't have one full day to devote to the course. So I did have help. I had a dietitian working for me at the time that helped me with some of the slides in terms of getting all the information from the books into the actual PowerPoint slides. But I had to change things around. I had to really add more things because I wanted to make the course different than the books. So it was a lot of work actually creating the slides, but I knew from my book outline, I knew exactly what I wanted to include in the course. So my course is 10 modules. So what I did is I broke it down module by module, and I just did the PowerPoint slides, I did the recordings, and then I did all the handouts and uploading to Teachable to actually service the course itself. So I use Teachable. I feel like sometimes I'm cheating because sometimes people put 5 different products together to make their online course. And Teachable, while it is a fee, is so much easier for me just to have it all in that one area. Just makes it much more organized.
Yeah, I did a blog post recently on what course builders people use, and I think while Teachable does charge a fee, there's also providing a lot of convenience. And when you start to look at all the other things you'd have to buy to really replicate that, if you're early on, to really consider that fee is not that high given all the things they put under one roof for you. And there's other options obviously out there besides Teachable, but some people want to self-host versus going with a Teachable-like product. So people are really happy with Teachable. I mean, they really work hard to make their product, I guess, good. But there's Thinkific, and I've heard some good things about Course Cats too, and others. So I actually think the fact that you had the book, while I know it was a lot of work for you to write the books, it really sounds like you were able to I don't want to say just use that, but use that as a jumping off point, right? With all of your, your modules. And I have, that creating, creating the content, right? Recording the lessons isn't the first place you go, right? You don't start building your slides. You have to outline out, kind of the outline that you had from your book. If you hadn't had that, you can't just start like throwing the content on a slide. You have to really put the idea together.
And I'd say if you're interested in making a course, have at least 5 people look at your outline. Have at least 5 people look at the information that you have, just to make sure that you are including all the things that someone would want from your course. And it's actually been a very beautiful thing. As more people join the Pursuing Private Practice program, I get more requests for information. So I've been updating the course for the past year, now almost a year and a couple months. So it's been great. Like, you can just update things as, if you are the course creator, you can just update things as more students enroll in your program and have questions and do things like that. So
content. That's a good point, that your course is going to evolve over time. It's not going to stay the same. So I think we sometimes want to aim for perfection and getting it out there, a good quality product that it's still going to evolve over time. So,
Oh, yeah. Because we evolve over time. Like, the information that we have about every single subject evolves over time. So we are always constantly changing things based on the latest information that's out there, and also based on feedback. It's not, sometimes people have a really hard time with criticism, but it really is great to have feedback from your students and from I like to call it your audience, your tribe, whoever you're really talking to, because if they can give you feedback on what you're doing, you can only grow as a person and as an entrepreneur.
Right. So let's talk about, I don't know if it's really on the list, but the whole launch process. So creating your product is one thing. Marketing your product is yet another thing. And we all learn in the process of launching and then launching again. You've just opened up registration again for your course. What have you learned in this process of, launching the first time? How does that work? Do you have an evergreen product? Talk to us about that.
So we do have an evergreen product. So the Pursuing Private Practice Masterclass e-course is evergreen. People can join at any time. But I do launch it around twice a year. Basically, I do offer a discount code that's a little different than the normal discount code. So I have a discount code for anyone that's on my email list. It's pursuingprivatepractice.com/join. So anyone that's on my email list, you can get the discount code, but a little bit of a different discount code for any launch period. And just really talk to my ideal client. I don't like to bombard everyone's social media and newsletters and email all the time. I think that that's kind of a little annoying. So I try to be very strategic in the sense that my course offers discussions on the modules in our Facebook group twice a year. We go through that for 10 weeks. So before we start, I launch to make sure that everyone knows that we're starting again. If you're interested, now's a great time to get in.
Got it. Yeah, I think there's that thought process between kind of evergreen and then having like specific periods of time where you can only enroll in a course. And I was curious as to your perspective, why you've chosen one, if you've had what your thoughts were.
For my audience, I feel like, and I'm really talking to anyone out there that wants to start a private practice, that is a time where I feel like if it's right for you, you should totally get in. If you're thinking you want to do it now, don't wait, get in. But I'm not going to have a scarcity mindset that, it's closed, you can't get in now type of thing, just because I feel like while that might make more sales for some people, I just feel like that's kind of a little bit of a turn off to my audience. So I do keep it open.
Got it.
At all times. If people want to get in, it's totally fine. Because I don't want to rip it away from you if you want it.
So the group coaching calls, that's a tongue twister, that you're adding in, those are on top of the discussion questions that you mentioned, and those also align with your launch periods. Is that how you kind of structured those?
So once you get in, so I am offering group coaching calls for a year. So once you get in, you have it for a year, totally great. And I really haven't figured out a system to keep track of that yet. So you might even get it for longer than a year, to be quite honest with everybody out there. I'll be doing them. I think it's a great thing that I just want to do for everyone that's, in my course. So while it's a one-time payment or a two-time payment for a payment plan, you have that. So it's Facebook groups and group coaching calls. But I think it's important. to keep your audience happy, your customers happy. So if that is going to help people, and that was something that actually was requested by one of my students, and once they posted it as a question, everyone loved it. So it's happening, which is really great.
Yeah, so you use a Facebook group in association with your course. It's probably, it's private, enrolled people only, I'm guessing. How has your experience been? I know Teachable offers some group, forum, and most people don't opt to use it. Almost everyone uses Facebook groups. How much time do you spend managing, I think, creating conversation, answering questions? How do you kind of budget your time for that group?
Megan, I didn't even know that Facebook or that Teachable offered that. That's so funny. I didn't even know. So,
well, because everyone's on Facebook, so people people honestly prefer, people who have used the feature in Teachable and some of the other options just still use Facebook because that's where people are, That's where people are.
Makes sense. Well, it's not too time consuming. So I'm lucky in the sense that I time map my week. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but it really works so well for me. So Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm with clients all day. I really cannot get so much stuff done besides maybe a little bit of email management Mondays and Tuesdays. And if I am working on something that I need to do on a Monday or Tuesday, I'll do it before or after I have all my clients. So that really is how I work my private practice. Alyssa, who's my associate in my business, she's my employee. She sees clients Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm in the office Wednesday too. So Wednesdays I try to do all my meetings, supervision, all of the stuff related to pursuing private practice. And then Thursday, Friday, if I have babysitting, I will do content creation. So it really isn't so much management in the Facebook group. I feel like I'll schedule my posts and I'll make sure that everyone's happy, and I do my social media usually before or after I have my day. I can get on in the middle of the day if I have time, but sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I call it the vortex of social media, and I log on to do one thing, and all of a sudden an hour goes by, and I say to myself, what
happened?
So with social media, I find it's really important for my brain and how I work to put a limit on that social media time. Usually it's before and after the day, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
So
yes.
How I manage it.
Yes, I completely agree with that social media vortex. I usually get up, 4:30, 5 in the morning. My husband gets up, and I don't check social media till 7 after I wake up the kids. So otherwise, those 2 hours just disappear, and I'm not able to be productive, which are some quiet hours, which I'm pretty sure oftentimes those are the only ones I get, unless it's childcare day, right? So trying to be productive, because I think social media, you need it for your business, but you can also, I think it's that balancing of, that investment of time versus how you can really spend too much time. They're structured to take your time. They want to keep you on social media.
No, they really do. They really do. And I find that sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's also, I find that a lot of people get stuck in the comparison trap with social media because everyone just posts all the things that make them happy, and they call it the highlight reel. And I think it's so true. So you have to remember that social media is not real life.
No, it's definitely not. So this is a question which I really wanted to ask. And you mentioned you had like Alyssa, another dietitian that works with you.
Yeah.
So hiring out versus DIYing everything. Did you hire out any elements? How did you decide, there's only so much time in the day, and what am I good at? Talk to me about what investments you made, if any, in getting the course out.
Oh my gosh, I love this question. So I definitely use resources. I definitely hire people. First of all, the first, what was it, maybe 3 or 4 years in my private practice, I did everything. Like, I did not have one person helping me. I did everything all by myself. And I really, while I look back at that time and say, what was I thinking sometimes, I'm glad I did it, because if I'm teaching someone how to do something for me, I need to know, as a business owner, I need to know how to do the thing that I want them to do. So I can tell them how to do it, and I can correct them if they're doing something wrong, or I can praise them if they're doing something right. So 1,000% so glad that I did everything. What happened, so first of all, my first person I ever hired was my maternity leave coverage dietitian when I had my first son. So that person's no longer working here, but it was a great experience to actually have someone come on board your team to work for your business. It was a completely life-changing experience because I said, oh my gosh, like here I am on maternity leave. I'm still making some money while this person is seeing my clients and my business is still going without me. And in a sense, I thought it would just crash and burn because I wasn't there, but it didn't happen, which is so amazing as an entrepreneur. So that was my first experience and it went so well. From there, I have hired different things. I've hired people to help me with some social media stuff and some artwork and design. Hired people to see some of the clients. Like I've had now, this is my third dietitian that I've ever hired for the practice to see clients. And she has been here the longest, which is so great. I love her so much. And all the clients love her, which is really great. And so now I have a designer and I do have someone that's a virtual assistant for me, helping me with some of the VA tasks that need to get done that I honestly just don't have the resources for. Like GDPR is the perfect example. I had no idea what I had to do to help me get GDPR compliant. So I needed to have someone come in and help me with that.
Right. That GDPR was, kind of a big hurdle, I think. If I saw one more privacy practice update, I was going to go bonkers, right?
No, I'm still not 100% compliant, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So I need to finish that stuff. But yeah, so yeah, and I've always had my lawyer, I've always had my accountant, I've always had my support system around me, my husband, my family, my in-laws, and my babysitter, who I don't even want to call her babysitter, it's just like my children's second mom.
Right.
I need that help in order to have both a thriving family and friends and social life, and then also a thriving business.
But it's scary, okay? It's scary to make an investment in your business, right? It's scary to say, okay, I can do it myself. Can I really afford this? How do you approach thinking about spending versus? Yeah, I think this is an important question because I think it's something that people struggle with, especially when maybe their business doesn't have quite as much bringing in as much, but maybe you don't have the skills to do something that's maybe holding you back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we all have a set number of hours that we are able to work. It's just like a millionaire has a budget. Someone that has all the hours in the world to work also has only how many hours in a week? I'm not even sure. We only have a certain number of things to do. So if our hourly rate, or whatever you want to call it, is going to bring us more money, and we're spending 5 hours a week on stuff that's not making us money, and we're actually losing money that way, when we could hire someone for just 1 hour to get down that thing that they're good at, it's totally worth it. I mean, I think you have to, I've never had someone, just one person, I've never tried to recreate me, if that makes sense. I've really tried to figure out what are the things that people are really good at? What do they want to do? What are the things that they're passionate about? So bring those people on for those specific things, because they're going to be really good at their job.
Right, and you mentioned social media or the VA type tasks.
So my designer is so passionate about design. She just is design all day, every day. The VA person is so passionate about organization. She's seeing the big picture. She's helping me with task management and all that stuff. And Alyssa is so passionate about seeing clients and about clinical and eating disorder recovery and intuitive eating. All three of those people are so different. So they are the people that are really helping me in my business right now.
I think that you said something that was really valuable, and I don't know if it caught everybody's ear, but that you were trying to recreate yourself. And I think that's really important, that you're looking to the areas where you can do I've used this term before, your zone of genius, where you can't be good at everything, and you're finding people who are in their zone of genius, which ultimately helps your business too. So definitely. I think that was a good point. You're not recreating yourself.
I will say, though, I have to do some of the hardest things and some of the things that are, I'd like to call it the shit work. Sorry, Facebook. It's almost like you have to, as a business owner, you are the one that is in charge of those things. Just like if you're a mom, you can't just have fun with your kids all the time. You need to be the one that does discipline them, and you need to be hard on them if they need it. So as a parent, that's what you have to do to raise your kids. As a business owner, that's what you have to do to raise your business.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have to do, it's definitely, the buck stops with you, right? if it's got to get done, sometimes it's you, if it's glamorous or not.
I know.
So
Exactly.
what aspects of the process of getting your course created were the most challenging and that kind of surprised you? I think when you went into saying, oh, I'm going to create a course, what did you go, wow, that took a lot longer, or was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be?
Yeah. I think probably, so as the course creator, I really was the expert on my topic. And I think if you're interested in creating a course, anyone that's listening, like you are the expert on your topic. So the actual creating the course itself is not so hard. I think it's just the marketing piece and the advertising. And what I really tried to do was stick to that ideal client in mind, not the person that is thinking about a private practice 4 years from now and not the person that already has one and is hiring 10 people. My ideal client is really someone in the middle that wants to grow their business. So I really tried to talk to them. I tried to market to them. I tried to write my sales content and my emails and all those things for that person, and not really like car salesman type of selling,
Right.
but I really tried to sell to that person because I knew that my product could help them. So that was
So
kind of the toughest thing, but also the best learning lesson.
yeah, the marketing angle. So I mean, everyone talks about, okay, you need to do webinars or you need to have a free download and you need to be blogging about this. What have as you've been learning how to market Pursuing Private Practice, what's worked well for you and what approaches have you taken?
Yeah, I think my best piece of advice, you have to be visible. You could have the best counseling skills, you could have the best product, you could have the best anything. And if you're sitting back and just like looking at it yourself and saying, oh my gosh, this is just so wonderful, and not sharing it with the world, you are actually not really marketing. So you have to get out there. You have to find your community, whoever that is for you, in terms of the people that are there to buy. You have to find it. You have to ask for the sale. Like you have to really tell them what you offer and market that way, in the sense that you're not going to be sleazy marketing. I guess a car salesman. I feel so bad if anyone is a car salesman, but you know what I mean when I say that.
I think there's a difference between helping people get them nodding along saying, yes, this is the product that I need and the time is right for me to take action, versus pressuring someone to buy something. And we've all had that experience, right? Of feeling pressured when you weren't nodding along. But I think maybe there's also been times where if someone hadn't taken the time to share something, that was the right time and the right product for me. So I think, just because you're telling someone about a product you're excited about doesn't make you it doesn't mean you're being pushy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So that's kind of how I market it. And yeah, and it's right for some people and it's not the right match for other people. And if it's not the right match for you, I promise you, I probably know something that is a better match.
So this week in my group, Dietitian Selling Digital Goods, we were talking about email welcome sequences. Do you use a formal kind of sequence that, warms people up and then obviously encourages them to purchase your products, whether that's your books or your course? Yeah. What does that look like? How many emails? How does that work for you?
That is a great question. So yes, if you do sign up for my list, if you want to trial it out, it's pursuingprivatepractice.com/join. You will get a mini training. So what I really wanted to do was offer a mini training for clinicians, because I want you to see what are some of the areas that the course talks about, what are some of the areas that the books talk about, like what are some things that could give you some aha moments that you might take and run with. And then if you like what I offer, I have more for you. So my nurture sequence, I think it's six emails, and it goes through some of the things that are the most common questions in private practice, and a mini training on your ideal client, your marketing, getting your office set up and all those things. Like some of the things that you might need right away is what my emails go through.
Got it. So your little sequences, 6 emails, and there's some little trainings included in there.
Yeah.
Got it. The mini training idea is definitely one that when you're selling a course, that you're also opening up to the way that you teach, the type of content, and when you're buying a product online, you can't really open it up, look at it, touch it, feel it, and giving them a chance to know your teaching style and the type of content. really helps to break down those objections people have to buying a product. So that's super smart marketing move on your part. And we call it marketing like it's some kind of a negative thing, but it's helping people see your product and your style to know that it's a good fit for them.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly what I teach people with counseling. You have to offer. So yes, like we're talking about products and services right now, or products and courses right now. But when it comes down to services, as a dietitian, you have to tell people what you offer in terms of the services that you provide. Again, services, you can't touch it, feel it, turn it around, like know exactly what it is. You have to be really great with describing how you counsel clients, like what's the transformation, what's going to happen, what's the process like. Because I think if you can be really upfront in the way that you work, you're going to attract the right people to you. So I always like to say, talk to your ideal client, tell them what you're going to offer, tell them what's going to happen in the counseling session or sessions in the process, because you're going to be the right match for them if that's something that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Got that. So I may not have let you fully answer the question about things that you found the most challenging. Any other kind of, big things that came up during the course build?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned, and this is just across the board in everything that I do, is that it always takes longer than what you think it's going to take.
Yeah.
Always. Like, no matter what I do. So I just think that if you have a launch date in mind, if you are thinking about creating a course or a product or anything like that, set it at least a month, if not 6 weeks, before your actual real launch date to get everything done, because just hiccups happen all the time. It's just life, especially, I mean, I don't want to say especially if you're a parent, because that's not exactly what I mean, but especially things happen in life, whether or not your kid is sick or someone needs you or you can't work as much as you think you're going to need, or things come up in your business or your practice. It's just life.
Yeah, or just you forgot about the time it takes to export and save your videos and get file links. Like, you could have recorded 3 more videos in the time that it took you to just get the recording to the final destination. Like, these things take time, and you might not have planned for that.
I know, and I'm so guilty. This is another one of my time mapping things. I'm so guilty at putting everything in my calendar. Sometimes I just move it day to day if it's not getting done. So I've really learned to leave something that I call white space on my calendar for emergencies and for things that just happen in my day, and leave plenty of cushion for those things, because it's just so much less overwhelming when you do it that way.
Yeah, I loved how you talked about the time blocking that you do. I think when you are spinning multiple plates or you're running maybe 2 distinct areas of a business, it can get really, I don't want to say, it can get very overwhelming and very frustrating. I feel this on a regular basis myself. So I think, I could certainly dial in a little bit more with time blocking for sure. So that was a great tidbit from you.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to say this, although I think it's research based and backed up, but someone else can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think your brain doesn't work as well productivity wise. It's to thing to thing to thing to thing. I think if you have a large chunk of time for one thing, start, complete, done, and then you move on to the next thing. I think it works for my brain. I don't know if it works for yours, but it's definitely something that I found really does work for me.
Yeah, I read the book, The One Thing. I'm trying to remember who wrote that book. But it's really talks about, working on the thing that's most important, but does kind of go over that switching between tasks and how non-productive getting back into that task, and your brain can't really switch. The idea of multitasking was really more for computers and not for people's brains. So interesting concept. So we've kind of jumped around a little bit more, but as always, I always run out of time during these live interviews way too fast because I always have so many questions. But we talked a little bit about your marketing approach, but I think this is one thing that gets a big hurdle for people who create a product, but maybe they don't think through how they're going to market it, or they're just uncomfortable getting themselves out there. What other, tips can you share on why you think you've been successful attracting your ideal client and your ideal purchaser, I guess would be a better term, to your course?
I the number one tip I have for anyone, just be yourself. You have to be real. You have to connect with people in terms of getting to know them as people and them getting to know you as a person too. So much of the time, I'm thinking of a couple of just online influencers that I just see over and over again. And so much of the time, I can't really relate to them because I think, oh my gosh, like they don't have the same problems that I have, or they're not doing this the way that I'm doing it. I think just connecting with people and showing them that that you're a real person, that you're a real human being, and that you are relatable, I think is the main thing that has really helped me. Because I couldn't be anyone else, though. I just want to tell you that this is just how I've practiced in counseling and in business for dietitians. I can't put on a happy face all the time and pretend that everything is great. It's just I have to be authentic. I have to be real. I have to be me.
I think that's also really poignant in that you're giving yourself permission to be authentic and not be what you think people, necessarily want to buy while we talk about social media. And you definitely want to put, your most competent self forward, but that you are enough, you are great, you are knowledgeable, you have something. You're not going to appeal necessarily to everyone, but if, it's going to be a lot easier if you can be authentic, because that's what's going to resonate. Not everyone's going to be a good fit for your product or your services. So
yeah, which is so okay because
yes,
like I said, it's meant for certain people and then it's not meant for other people. And if it's not meant for you, I guarantee you there's something out there that might help.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about where people can go to get more information about the Pursuing Private Practice Masterclass e-course. And you also mentioned that your email subscribers get a discount and some free mini training. So definitely want you to share how people can get on your list and get those goodies that you have.
So yes, you can find me at pursuingprivatepractice.com, also eatwithknowledge.com. To sign up for the email training, the mini training, it's pursuingprivatepractice.com/join. If you're interested in purchasing the books, they are on RD to RD.
Me too.
They are on RD to RD, so you can definitely get them there. They're a PDF download there. And if you want the course, it's pursuingprivatepractice.teachable.com is where you can find the course, but all the links in the emails on my website will send you that too if you're interested.
Right. And also for those of you who are thinking about a course or launching a digital product and want to experience an email sequence and look at how those things are structured, and maybe you're considering a mini training, this would be a great time to see how one is structured. So go sign up, get on Jennifer's list, and take it a little bit further so that you've got a good model. We always call it swipe files, right? Go out. I sign up for all kinds of email lists and working on my nurture sequence by being in other people's nurture sequences. So to say, oh, I really like that, or that we learn from each other. So and just a lot of good stuff in there. So
thank you. And if anyone wants to find me on social media, I'm Jennifer McGurk RDN on Facebook and Instagram, and Jen McGurk RDN on Twitter. Although I'm never on Twitter.
I know, me neither. I'm trying. I do the monthly Nutrition Entrepreneur Practice Group Twitter chat. That's the only time you find me on Twitter. So otherwise, I don't know. I can't figure Twitter out. I really need to try though. But yeah. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time. I know you are extremely busy, and your wisdom about how to create and launch a course has been super valuable. And I will tag you in questions as they come up from people in the group. My video won't play, so I can't go in here to see this right now. It's probably my video today is not cooperating. So for those of you who have questions, we will snag back in there and get to them. So okay. Thank you again for being on, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll sign off.